Toni Storm is souring in the moment on the stage, and a random woman comes out to the ring. And that woman ended up being Ronda Rousey. Yes, the rowdy one, the former WWE Women's Champion, the former UFC Champion, Ronda Rousey, who, by the way, is going to have a big fight with Gina Carano in May on Netflix, and that is going to be a big deal. Francis Ngannou is going to be on that card. Nate Diaz was just announced to be on that card as well. I mean, MVP is really making strides as to being the alternative to the UFC. But that's another story for another time. But Ronda Rousey made an appearance on this show, and she had a crazy face-off. I don't want to say crazy because I don't want to hype this up too much. But she had a face-off with Toni Storm, and a lot of mixed reactions with a lot of people. A lot of mixed reactions amongst the fan base. A lot of people in the fan base are pointing out to some of the past things that, Ronda Rousey has stated in terms of, not even her political stance, but just things that happened in the world. In my opinion, look, if AEW wants to bring in Ronda Rousey, they can bring in Ronda Rousey. Some people are pointing her as a possible cancer in the locker room. I even had a friend text me saying, oh, this is worse than CM Punk being in the locker room, and she's going to be a cancer in the locker room. And I'm listening to these people, and I'm like, chill. She's not even signed to AEW. She didn't even get the All Elite graphic yet. Do I think she will get the All Elite graphic? I have no idea. People need to understand this is not her first time working in anything related to Tony Khan. She actually made an appearance in Ring of Honor a couple of years ago. People forget, but she actually made an appearance for Ring of Honor a couple of years ago. I believe it was in 2023 or 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she made an appearance in Ring of Honor, so she knows Tony Khan. In terms of Ronda Rousey coming out, what is my thoughts on this? What are my thoughts on Ronda Rousey showing up at Revolution? Do I think she's going to be wrestling full-time for AEW? I don't think so. I don't think she's even going to be wrestling at least for the next month or two, month and a half. Considering, again, she has a big fight with Gina Carano, and she should prioritize her fight rather than professional wrestling. That's just my opinion. Now, from the business standpoint, people need to understand that even now, even though she's nowhere near the level of a big star as she was back in the mid-2010s, and trust me, she was huge. Like, the mainstream appeal that the name Ronda Rousey had back then, that being 10 plus years ago, was insane. When she made it to the UFC, because she fought, of course, in Strikeforce, but she came into the UFC, and, she became a huge mainstream star. Like, insanely huge mainstream star. Do I think she has that same name value? No. Did I enjoy her run? Both of her runs in the WWE? I actually enjoyed her first run, and that's not saying much, more than I did her second run. I thought her second run in the WWE was absolutely atrocious. And that's largely due to the fact that Ronda Rousey, every time when she cut a promo, she felt like she just did not want to be there. And you can tell. She didn't. A lot of people even say, like, she didn't enjoy wrestling. She didn't enjoy the business. Becky Lynch was very, very, very vocal about Ronda Rousey. And look, I still hold those criticisms of Ronda Rousey. I felt like she didn't want to be there. But if her going to AEW is a sense of her wanting to be there, I'm totally fine with it. But if she's only there and the moment I see her cut a promo and that promo is not good, I'm going to say she's garbage. But again, this is only the first show. But that does not excuse the fact that, like, I did crap on Ronda Rousey in her last WWE run. Her last match, I believe, was at SummerSlam in 2023. And that match was not good at all. It was like an MMA style fight. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was against Shayna Baszler. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it was not a good match whatsoever. Ronda Rousey, it was smart for WWE to bring in Ronda Rousey in 2018 because, again, she had that mainstream appeal. But again, she was great in the ring, but in terms of her promo skill, she was just atrocious. Atrocious, in my opinion. But let's see what happens over here in AEW. Now, people need to understand, again, she's not signed to AEW as of right now. Do I think AEW will sign her? Maybe, but, the chances of that possibly happening, I don't know. but she is not signed to AEW, and already people are jumping the gun. People are jumping the gun. She hasn't even signed a contract. Mystico just signed with AEW. He got the All Elite graphic. Ronda Rousey did not get the All Elite graphic. Once she gets signed, then you can, express your criticisms. Or better yet, once she cuts a promo, express your criticisms of Ronda Rousey. But again, the people that are crapping on Ronda Rousey, and look, I'm not defending Ronda Rousey in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out just the hypocrisy. If you guys, I assume a lot of wrestling fans know that she has a big fight with Gina Carano. If you don't, clearly all you watch is wrestling and you don't watch anything else. You don't follow what's going on necessarily in the combat sports world. And look, I'm not a big MMA fan. I'm not a big boxing guy, but I've been keeping tabs about what's been going on in that area. If you are one of those people that, watched, Ronda Rousey, or, we're watching Ronda Rousey, say the things she said at the press conference, at the MVP press conference, and didn't say anything, and all of a sudden she comes into AEW and then you express your opinions. I'm like, you're kind of a hypocrite. But that's just me. If you disagree with me, that's fine. But in terms of the business standpoint of them bringing in Ronda Rousey, the name Ronda Rousey still holds name value. It does. It does still hold name value. And it's kind of smart on AEW to bring her in at this time, because they could possibly have a chance to cross-promote with MVP. Because whether you like it or not, and I don't care what anybody says, say what you want about the fight that she's going to have with Gina Carano. Look, Ronda's in her late 30s. Gina's in her early 40s. It looks like it's going to be, a lot of people kind of view it as a shit show. But at the same time, believe it or not, and I don't care what anybody says, everybody's going to watch that fight because it's on Netflix. It's catering to a casual audience. And if AEW plays their cards right and they want to bring in maybe a Gina Carano to do maybe some sort of angle with her and Gina, look, it's smart business on their end. Does that mean that Ronda Rousey is going to wrestle? I have no idea. We're going to have to wait and see. But, a lot of mixed reactions. And look, if you're not happy with Ronda Rousey, that's fine. I'm just pointing out, the hypocrisy. If this had happened in WWE, nobody would bat an eyelash. Now, am I excited about Ronda Rousey showing up in AEW? Part of me, yes. A part of me, no. Because I've seen her work in WWE, and her work in WWE, especially in that second run, was atrocious. But I'm going to give her a shot. If she's good, she's good. If she's still the same Ronda Rousey that we saw back in 2021, forget about it. But that's just me. Or in 2022, I should say. 2022. I believe 2022 was where she made her return. Correct me if I'm wrong. She made a return in 2022 and won the Royal Rumble. I completely forgot about that, but it is what it is. But yeah, that was my thoughts on Ronda Rousey's return. Look, AEW has a chance to capitalize on the hype around, Gina versus Ronda. And look, there's no denying everybody's going to be watching that show. Regardless of how the fight does, everybody's going to be watching that show because, again, MVP is in the business of making big events. Netflix is in the business of making big events. Say what you want about the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. Everybody watched regardless, and it was deemed a success. Regardless of what you thought about the fight, they got their payday, and at the same time, people watched that show because it's Mike Tyson. It's going to be the same thing with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. It's the same shit. The same thing. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Ronda Rousey showing up in AEW. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments down below. Do you think this is a smart idea or a bad idea on AEW's end to bring in Ronda Rousey in the midst of, her preparing for her fight against Gina Carano in May?